Hello, Matiu. How are you?
Hey, kia ora, Vickie. Kia ora, good to see you.
Thanks for joining me on the Boxer Within podcast.
Awesome, thanks for having me.
All right, let's get started, considering you need to leave, in about 45 minutes?
Yeah, sorry.
Nah, you're all right, mate. No worries. So we'll start with some early life questions. You often speak about purpose and service. What do you think that began? Where do you think that began, rather?
I think growing up as a young Māori boy back in New Zealand, Aotearoa, through my grandparents, I think it stems from there. Just those old school sort of traits there, old school teachings. They were just simple things that I tended to sort of pick up when I was a young fella. I'll probably put it down to my grandparents, to be honest, just the way they grew up and how they dealt with things, and it kind of stemmed off from there.
Yeah, it's great to hear. Similar to, I guess, the Greek culture where we have that sort of thing as well.
Yep.
Yeah. So
100%.
you lost your father at 6. Is that something that shaped your life? And how did that experience influence the leader that you've become?
Yeah, I obviously at a young age, you don't sort of know how to navigate life from there. You're just a young fella sort of trying to figure out what's going on. But I think as the years went on, obviously staying with mum, there were two of us, two youngest ones, myself and my younger sister, that were kind of separated to make it easy on mum. There were 5 kids, 5 of us, snotty-nosed little kids to look after. So it's a pretty hard job, let alone one kid. So yeah, my younger sister and I were sent up north to our grandparents, and that's where I feel, a lot of the growing up and all those sort of things happen. But it did, in a sense, just missing having that father and that role model, that father figure around. It is tough. Probably explains why I'm quite close to mum now. She's definitely a rock for sure, taking on that role for all of us, really. So yeah, it had its challenges, had its moments, but I'm just grateful that I had a big family with a lot of uncles and cousins around that, sort of either kept me in line or just gave me a bit of a thwack around the head when I'm stepping out of line. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, it is a good thing to have a big family, which brings me to that next question about talking about your mum. You were raised by your mum and your wider wanu. What values from that upbringing still guide you in your professional life today?
Bringing be brought up in a big whānau, as you mentioned, whānau family. It's I think it really and again it comes back to probably some of the mistakes that I made as a young fella. Not having that role model around, I tended to find comfort in other guys that were young fellas at the time, going out and doing dumbass things as we did. And again, like I said, it was hard because I know peer pressure is a real bitch for everybody, really. Growing up, you're just there to try and fit in, I guess. And I guess that, in that sense, it was kind of hard to find my place. But I think it was at the age of 12, 13. Doing some dumbass stuff, man. And if it wasn't for my rugby coach that picked me up at that time, I think probably wouldn't have got to where I am today. So just blessings to him, I guess, and everybody else around me at the time.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference. I think having some role model, in your life, even from young, or as you mentioned, your mum, but also as you're getting older, and especially for young males, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, mum could, obviously she can, as a mother, as all mothers do, they give all they can, they love and care about their kids regardless. But there are some things that I guess some mums aren't able to navigate for their sons, and that's what we miss out on. So I tended to lean on the shoulders of all my uncles. They're all farmers, bushmen, rail workers. And that sort of era and that generation, they didn't tend to muck around. You probably know what it's like growing up with uncles and aunties. There's no no filters with these fellas. Yeah.
Well, that's probably more my mum than anyone else. She might be 87, but I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, that's funny, isn't it? But you're right. Your mum can do only so much. But as a young male growing up, you do need that male role model.
Yeah, for sure. There's certain things that only the the older fellas can sort of get through. And I guess missing out on having that firmness with some of the uncles, I'm glad I had that because, yeah, I mean, my dad would have been the same. There's no doubt he would have, pulled my head in quite a few times. And just like my grandmother, I think I feared my grandmother more, to be honest. But yeah, it's just pretty tough.
I can't do it. I totally agree with that because I'm the same with both my parents. My mum might be short, but she was the scarier parent.
Oh, man, I tell you, I don't know where they get it from, but it's just that look, Oh, right.
100%.
They don't have to speak.
That's too funny. But on that note, how do you think that shaped the way you sort of live your life, your career now, working with young people?
Yeah, just based on the mistakes I made. Obviously, the learnings, the teachings. I guess the best way you can learn is, you go through those things yourself, and then you look back and think, "Geez, what a bloody idiot I was," And then you see it so often today with a lot of young people, and I think that was, I guess, the turning point. Because believe it or not, I was a real quiet fella at high school, and I tell my cousins that they'll just laugh, because I'm such a you can't stop me to talk. But
I don't
but
believe
back then
it.
I was. But back then I was pretty quiet. It wasn't until I got into rugby and kapahaka, our Māori cultural groups that we used to do performing, because you'd never get me, see me on stage doing that sort of stuff. But as I started, surrounding myself with the right people, I started coming out of my shell, sort of thing. So, yeah, I think it was just all about being around the right people, really, and the rugby culture really helped me with that. There were times there where I kind of, swayed back to, being a bloody mischief little bugger, but I think it was my rugby mates that pulled me out of that. And you just, other people see little talents, and so I never saw that. I just enjoyed playing the game, and then you progress from there. But yeah, I think it was just the culture of the rugby culture and the kapahaka, and growing through just seeing the things that I've done, and I messed up, over times, and I think that's where the turning point was for me to be able to, I don't know, shape what I'm doing now, looking after these young fellas now. So yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? Our experiences drive us to the careers that we have today. I mean, I can say the same for myself. So, yeah.
100%. Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, you can just have a good little yarn with, one of the young fellas. I don't know, you can kind of tell where the conversation's going, or, but it is a bit of you have a bit of a chuckle there at times because, you know what it was like yourself. So,
yeah.
But, depending on what the case is at the time, you just got to try and be there, I suppose. Be there as much as you can. I guess the best thing you can spend on kids is time, yeah.
Exactly right. And on talking about career, you started studying teaching, but you chose to leave university for the rails. What was behind that decision?
Oh, yeah. And again, man, we didn't come from a wealthy, family, so we struggled a lot. Oh, even to this day, there's no doubt we still struggle to this day, So I think watching a lot of my good mates that I played rugby with at college, we all left the high school, and they were just, I don't know. I think at the time the money really attracted me and what they were doing on the jobs. So that was me. Mum wasn't too happy at the time. She wanted me to continue with education, go away and do all that stuff and finish my teaching. But I think, and again, just as a young fellow at that time, I found that getting that money and the work was easy. I mean, geez, we've been labourers all our lives. Doesn't matter where you put us. We're used to that sort of work. But the money just really attracted me, and I think that's where it was at the time. For a young fellow, I chased it for a while, saved up over the years, and I'm glad I did. Probably the first year or two wasn't too great because I was just spending it on, traveling around, going out partying with the boys, and as you do as a young fellow. But started realizing later on that it was a good way to start a foundation just to put some money behind me.
Yeah, and I think sometimes that has to happen, especially, when you do come from a background where you have to work to make money and there's no privilege. Sometimes we have to sacrifice one thing for another.
Yeah.
So
yeah, 100%. I mean, if we had, I don't know, I guess, if Dad was still around, and probably be a little bit easier. But one parent, Mum struggling, and the two oldest had to work. Mum had to work three jobs to, just get us by. So, yeah, that's where it all sort of looked at. And I thought, man, I've got to do this. So I have no regrets. I learned a lot on the rail. I've got all those tickets. If I wanted to go back on that sort of role, at least I can roll back on that if I wanted to.
That's good, isn't it? Because it's always good, depending on who you speak to, is either, do you have a plan A and plan B, or do you just have a plan A? But I think sometimes having a plan A and B is probably a good way to go too, because you just don't know, especially in this age and world we live in?
Yeah, for sure. Even with the rugby league academies that we work with up here with the kids, that's part of their programs. Just like you said, it's not always about playing sport for the rest of your days. You got to have something that you can look on and not so much fall back on, just something that you've always been interested in, so you can work towards that while you're training, while you're playing all your elite sports. So yeah, big time.
And that's a lot of what athletes, not that they don't remember or don't think of, but you're so caught up in doing what you're doing, playing a sport, and especially at an elite level, that you sort of don't have a backup plan. And that's where a lot of things can fall by the wayside, especially mental health.
Yep. Yeah, no, for sure. I think, over the years when I left home, I think I arrived in Australia probably 2000, I think it was 2008. I first arrived here on the Gold Coast. And during that time, there were a lot of my mates that, we obviously moved on from high school playing rugby at a high level, and then realizing some of our mates were struggling with a lot of stuff. I was never that superstar on the rugby field. I just did my job, but when you see your mates that are just amazing, man, they're crazy, their talent, everything, and you think they're, the most happiest people in the world because they portray that. But yeah, there were a lot of things that none of us knew what they were struggling with. And I don't know. It is a tough one because, even in today's sport, there's a lot of athletes that are struggling with stuff and they end up taking their own lives. So, it's a hard one.
Which is really sad. And that's where, I only sort of came across it maybe the last 12 months where they're introducing like wellbeing officers for teams. And I know the high elite sort of your soccer teams have those in place, and a lot of the lower community ones don't. But I think that's something really important to have.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because we're slowly getting there. I think on the world scale with rugby union, and I think the NRL rugby league, there's a lot of those things that are in place now, which is good. It was just never sort of frowned upon years ago, and our age groups coming through because we just played the sport and enjoyed what we did and tried to do the best we could.
Isn't it funny though that you do say you made that comment about frown upon, because it's this stigma of, but you've got this best life. You're in this elite club. You're playing this elite sport. You're getting paid all this money. But what have you got to struggle about? Yeah.
Well, that's right. Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, unless someone sort of come close to that moment where they just found no answers. It's a hard one. We can never understand. We can sit here and talk about it all day till the cows come home, but unless you've fallen into that boat where you found that there was no answers, it's tough.
That's very true. And, working through your different careers, because, reading your bio, obviously, worked across rail, education, youth justice, which we both worked together, disability support, residential care, all these different things. Was there a common thread connecting all those roles?
I think just the simple care for people. I think that's the bottom line, really. Whether it's in the Department of Youth Justice or support care, and I think growing up too with the grandparents, you see that when you're growing up, you just see what they do naturally. It just comes naturally. And as a Polynesian Māori myself, that was big in our culture. You see all these jobs around support workers and stuff. To us, it's just an everyday thing.
Yeah, fair enough. So obviously we've spoken about your rugby and working in different careers. So you've led teams in different environments. How would you describe your leadership style?
No, that's a good question because, I think I was asked this in an interview question a couple of years ago, buddy.
Surely you'd have an answer by now then.
Oh, yeah, you think so, eh? And I'm like, far out, I don't know. It's kind of hard. It's almost like saying, so what are you really good at? I was like, oh, gee, I don't know. I don't know. I guess connection, I suppose, connecting with people, engagement is huge.
Yeah.
Those two things are probably the things that come naturally to me. If you struggle with those two alone, I feel, in my opinion, it'll be a hard slug, to be where you are. You just got to have that natural ability to be able to connect with someone, engage with them, be patient.
Yeah, and I've seen that. I mean, obviously, us working together, our friendship grew through that. Many chats, and I saw, the impact that you had with these kids. So it's definitely what you're saying, that connection.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and thank you for that because, like you said, that was the first thing I got when we met on the job too. I mean, your guys' role is never easy. I think some teachers at the time didn't realize that, we're only there for so many hours. You guys are there a lot longer with these kids, and it can get pretty heavy. And I see that with you guys. So, yeah, man, take my hat off to you guys to do that sort of thing. Because, and again, when we met, we just, we hit it off pretty well. I think
we did. So good, we both used to get into trouble. That's why.
Oh, yeah. Just hope none of my peers are watching this, but.
Oh, well, all right. I'll just say I got in trouble.
Nah, it's all good. Yeah. No, I think I went to the principal's office more often than the kids, so I'll be honest about that. Yeah.
But you know what? In all seriousness, I don't think, there was anything wrong with, what we were trying to say and what we were trying to outlay. I can't think of the right words, but we were there to help these kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and maybe the way we were doing things in their eyes was potentially unorthodox. I don't think so. But at the end of the day, and even as a therapist, it comes down to connection. Yep,
100%. Connection is where it's at. That's where the fruits are, and that's where the rewards will come later on. Because we've got to be patient with not just the kids. You got to be patient with everybody. Everyone comes from a different role. There's so many untold stories through people's eyes we don't know. Every time we walk past someone's going through something. So yeah, it's just all about patience, really.
Well, speaking of that, what, this patience and meeting different people and, all these different challenges, what has that taught you about resilience?
Oh, man. Yeah, it's taught me a lot, really. To be fair, I think a lot of those kids in that place where we worked at PC, man, I learned a lot. It wasn't just about giving back or tutoring or mentoring these young people. It was like, geez, man, some of the stuff I had no idea, and I started learning a little bit. And I think it just goes with time, moving with the times, because obviously it's a different generation now. But sadly, we have to try and, immerse our minds in the way they think now, because it's totally different now. So, we've got to kind of move with that. But yeah, I don't know, it just teaches you a lot of things that you never thought.
That's very true, actually. I'll have to agree with you on that. I mean, I spent 2.5 years on the floor. I'm not sure how long you were there for, but you really, once you get to understand these kids and understand their history and story, there is a lot of empathy to be had and patience and yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you always had a great team around you, but you kind of lean on those that you feel that have that natural ability to just, connect with these kids. And for me, in my first week, actually in my first day, it was really important for me to be able to just rock in there and be who I am. I mean, this is the way I talk to the kids too. There was no difference. There was no different attitude or behavior how I spoke with the kids. So, it's really important that you go in and just knowing that this is who I am, because they'll read, as you know, the kids read you pretty well. They'll work you out in 5 minutes whether you're there for them or not. So, yeah.
Yep. and that's, I think, definitely something I agree with you on, because they can see straight through it.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be walking in pretending and, bullshitting your way through, because they can see it so quickly.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's something you have to try and, I couldn't do that. I couldn't hold up that performance for a whole, God, no. I think I was there 4 or 5 years, and I'm like, nah, man, you can't do that. You just got to, just go rolling. And you'll know those kids that will start, gravitating to you for your authenticity, really,
Exactly right. And they, and I think, sorry to cut you off, they appreciate that authenticity.
That's it. No, 100%. Yeah, that's right. See, I'm not too good with these flashes, but I'll let you take over there.
Oh, look, right. Either am I. I struggled with that word, but anyway. So let's continue with that, right? So obviously you would have been mentoring, let's call it that, a lot of the kids who lacked confidence. Where do you begin? How do you begin to build them? Or help them build themselves, for a better word?
Yeah, I think I'm just using an example from the workplace we're at, at PC there in Department of Youth Justice, as a PE teacher, strength and conditioning coach. Now, obviously everyone's going to have different ways, to get through and find out what's going on. I remember my first day. It's quite funny actually. Obviously, the principals that interviewed me a week earlier, they must have had a few words with other teachers to come down to my first class. So I wasn't expecting all these people to come down. And I was like, oh, hey, geez, it's my first day, So, a couple of mates was like, man, are you nervous? I said, nah, bro, I'm actually quite excited to get out and meet the kids. It's never a nervous thing for me when I'm in an environment like that, because I know I've got a role, I know I've got a job, and I know that first day is going to make it or break it for me, So
yeah,
for me, I just had this thing. It was a rugby coach thing that I remember. I just grabbed all this sports gear, all this equipment, everything from every sport in a bag. I didn't even talk to them and say hello or anything, just went straight out and just threw the bag out on the floor. And from that moment, all the boys looked at each other and they just gravitated to what sport they enjoyed, when growing up. And man, from there, I think I knew that's where I've got to start. And then we just started yarning. I let them go, let them play, whatever.
yeah.
And then called them in. I didn't even introduce myself because the principals had already done that. So I just wanted to see where they're at, where their thinking's at, through that big bag full of, sports equipment. And it's amazing how they go straight to the sport that they've known all their life, So
exactly right.
Yeah.
And I think it's that trust as well, because my first day, I mean, even though I'm not going to lie, I was pretty scared because I'd never been in that environment. But eventually, obviously, like anyone, you get used to it. But for me, the big thing was the trust. If you show trust, they would trust you back. And there were times where, little things like I'd let you out of your room early. Oh, no, you won't. Oh, but you showed up at their door like 5 minutes before. Yeah. And you could see the look in their eyes of, wow, no, what she said she did. And, obviously you were very similar, if not the same.
100%. 100%. And that's what I love about it. And again, like I said before, you kind of lean towards those people that you feel that, oh man, these guys get it, But in saying that, it's also good for me. There are other areas of teaching, coaching, the curriculum side of things where I didn't know, oh shit, honestly. So I had to, look towards those, other work colleagues that were really good at that, database, all that stuff on the computers. Man, that was not me, but I got there, and I'll be honest, the people around me at the time, it was really awesome. They taught me, they taught me a lot. So you've really got to open yourself to being coached, basically. Yeah. We all might think we know it all, but we've got a lot to learn.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't think that you're going to ever stop learning in anything we do. And on that note of what you're talking about, coaching and mentoring, and even, I'm sure some of those kids looked at you as a father figure. How do those roles differ and how are they connected, do you think?
I guess there were probably moments where I probably reminded them of either their dads or their uncles, and there were certain areas of how I spoke or how I directed things. So it kind of it probably gave them a sense of, okay, man, this guy's actually here to help us, but he's actually firm and pulling our heads in at the same time. So they probably never had that, or they've never been challenged by another adult to say, hey, bro, you've actually got the goods, but you need to change your fucking attitude, because that attitude is everything when it comes to learning. And I was taught that when I was younger too from my uncles. You got to switch off that thing and allow yourself to really learn what it is that you're trying to achieve, I suppose. And I think there were little moments like that probably drew them to me. I mean, look, I'm a bit of a class clown too. You know what I'm like with the kids. I like to muck around with them too. We've got to allow them to be kids. And have fun. Because as you know, again, being in those walls, it's not the best place to be. So we've got to do the best we can to make it normal for them.
Exactly right. And just going back with what you said about rules and regulations, a lot of those kids, regulations, boundaries, I don't want to call it regulations, but they didn't have that growing up.
Yeah.
And while for some, it's like, God, I don't want to listen to what, deep down, they actually respected it and appreciated it. I mean, I found that when I was working there and even with the kids that I work with now, and I'm sure you probably found the same.
Yeah. And I mean, there were times there where, you were looking after some of the young ones in the unit, and I think it just came natural with you, and that's something I'll always remember, how you dealt with situations. And it wasn't even in the directions that you were giving them. It was just how you were delivering it, and it was in the tone of voice too, because they know you're there to care, but you're also not there to piss around as well. So I think kids gravitate to that too as well. And
thank you for that. But that's the one thing, I guess, I don't know about you, but growing up, we were never given a reason for something. So as you said, my tone of voice, the way I directed, there was always reason behind it. And I would say to them, do you know why I'm saying this? Do you know why I'm doing this? And no doubt you would have been the exact same. And I've seen in those environments, we spent many hours together.
Yeah, for sure. And and I guess that's probably what I don't know. I think it was only in my second year there. I was actually poached to come up here and work in the same environment in Queensland, but I opted to stay there. So I'm glad I did end up staying at PC there.
Yeah.
And otherwise, I never would have gotten to learn what I did, there. I'm just grateful that I did learn a lot from everybody there, and to be able to know that if I'm being myself wherever I am with these kids and don't change, I mean, there's that, I guess, that element of, and you would understand this, wearing two hats, I guess, when we go inside those walls, you've got to really switch off when you get out as well, because we can be taking home a lot of heavy stuff as well. So, there were moments there, I'll be honest, so it was pretty hard sometimes.
Oh, look, and I totally agree with you. And you would have heard and known about some of the stories of these kids as well.
Yeah.
So was there any sort of, obviously with your teenage years, as you said, you had a few difficulties and challenges. Do you think, that you were able to sort of connect with the kids through your own experiences?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, when you're around in the lunchrooms or just playing sport, you'll hear all the stories. It's quite it's not that hard to sort of miss when you hear them talking about it. I mean, even at times some of these kids will come up to you and actually tell you what they did. And I think for me going into that environment, one thing I knew for sure, and this was coming from other experienced people that have been in that sort of work zone before, they did say, look, you're there to help. You're not there to judge, because there's a lot of people that tend to look at what they've done, and that's what kind of puts them off how they're supposed to be working with them. Now, I know there's a lot of case notes that we get, and some of them are, it's quite sad what you tend to find out. But after that, you just have to, I don't know, this is my way of thinking.
Oh, no, I agree with you, because I did the exact same. As we both know, we would have known a history about a lot of them.
Yeah.
But you've got to learn how to separate. Yeah. You're there to do a job.
Yeah, 100%.
And not judge what they've done.
Yeah, that's it, and just, I don't know, get going in with you get your notes, okay, you found out whatever, blah, blah. But you've got to scrape that and go in with a clean canvas to be able to help them go forward, because if you're thinking about these things that they've done, it doesn't, I don't know, I just feel it doesn't help with.
I think it blurs the lines, and I don't think you can give your authenticity to these kids if you know, or if you're not able to separate. I think, because I saw a lot of that, I don't know if you did, through different staffing and whatever, you'd hear, do you know they did that? Who cares?
Yeah. It's, I know. It's, I
mean, of course you care, but you can't use that as your guide in trying to help these kids, because this is what the job was.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess, like I said, everybody sort of has their own way of approaching that. And I believe if it's something that works for you and that individual, why change it?
Well, exactly right. And on that note, I guess, be in that environment or with the kids that you work with now. So how do you, a lot of these kids come to us and they don't see the potential. And as coaches and, mentors, we see that potential. But how do you get to get the child to see their own potential?
Good question. I think for me, that probably comes with time, just finding out what their interests are, I guess. Even without them explaining what they really love, it'll come out somehow. You'll see it. And from that moment on, when you notice it, you kind of identify something that really lights their eyes up, really makes them excited. That's where I kind of zone in on whatever that moment in life is. It could be anything. It could be just a moment of picking up a crayon and start drawing, and they're settled, they're peace. So that to me is, there's something there. So we start working from there. So it's not something you can read straight away. It comes with time. No,
and I think in that as well, I think you've got to give a little to get a little too.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, 100%.
Because I feel like, some people overcompensate, and these kids can see straight through it.
Oh, yeah.
Where, if you take yourself out of the equation and just purely focus on them and their strengths.
Yeah.
And belief, because belief is one of the biggest, I mean, for me personally, and, working with the kids.
Yeah, see, that's something I lacked with growing up, belief. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, as did I.
Yeah, but you're right though, sometimes, how friends would see how talented you are in certain things, but you never saw that. And then you start looking at yourself later down the track and think, hey, maybe I'm good at that, So those are those wow moments that you want your young people to realize eventually it'll come to them when it makes sense.
Exactly right. And I think that's my favorite thing about it, when that penny drops.
Yeah.
And you see that spark and they go, oh, like what you just said, oh, look, I can do this and I can do it really well. And that just for me is a reward.
It is, and I guess it just makes you sit back and think, man, this is why I'm here, this is why I'm doing these things. So there's nothing like the best experience to give others unless you've been through it yourself. Yeah.
And speaking of that, like I was reading through your bio, you say our past does not define us, our choices do. Can you share a moment when we're talking about belief, when your belief was actually tested?
Yeah. Yeah. You sure that was in my bio? No.
Well, I think you wrote that. Maybe I was reading someone else's.
No. Yeah, no, I think I did. Gee, man, it took me a while to write that. Anyway. Yeah. Oh, I'm just trying to think. I guess looking where I probably wasn't until I was 15, 16 where I realized that, I was still struggling with the fact that I still didn't have a date, and that was the whole thing behind why I did what I did and why I shouldn't have been or whatever, But I think it was, where one day I did get a shot at making a team where we got to travel overseas for the first time to Fiji, secondary schools rugby team, and I knew I was up against a lot of great players, good players at the time, and so I doubted myself straight away. There was no belief at all, thinking about all the other stuff that happened before. So maybe that was my thing that held me back instead of moving forward and thinking, hey man, I do have strengths. I mean, I've gotten this far, for the trials, so I've got to go hard, man. I've got to give it everything. But yeah, it was that self-doubt, I guess. I don't know, hard to explain, but I managed to get through it. And I think what it was a friend of mine at the time, a mate of mine that actually saw all these things that I'm actually capable of doing, man. You can do this, you're actually bloody good at this and that and whatever it was, at the time. But when you were going forward as a young fella growing up, all you're focused on is like, hey, man, I need to make the team, but fuck, how do I do that? So it was those little parts or elements where I think I started coming right. It was a challenge because, man, a lot of good players at the time, and I think I just self-doubted myself straight away at the top of the bat without even having to think about, well, hey, man, you've still got an opportunity, you got 3 months, let's work on it. And that was a challenge for me, but I got through it. It wasn't
good.
easy. It wasn't easy because it's always, I guess, your worst enemy.
Oh, 100%.
So, right.
And that's the hardest thing, right? Exactly what you said. When you have that self-doubt, and I struggle with it as well, it can really hold you back.
Yeah.
And stun you and stop you from achieving like what you just said. I mean, I'm glad you got through it and you had someone to help you. But there's so many out there, even as grown adults, where it does really hold you back.
Yeah. And, like yourself, you probably, over time, you kind of look back and think, well, I don't know, I guess something I've learned over this whole thing right up to now and is wherever your mind is immersed in life, that's where you're going to be. I guess, yeah. Wherever
that's a really good. I like that. That's so true.
Because so many people, I mean, man, you can think negative thoughts for the rest of your days. That's how your life's going to be, man. You got to turn that around.
But then, how do you turn it around?
Exactly, and then that's right. See, only you would know that answer for yourself, and only I would know. So that's a hard one. So you're right. How do we turn that around? Well, I don't know. For me, it's just being around the right people. That's what it was for me. Just being around the right people. And who are those right people? Well, you'll know within time. You'll know who they are. So, yeah.
But I think sometimes we might take the easy way, and possibly from a lot of these kids that we've come across, especially we're working in correctional, where you have that, do I go this way or do I go this way?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And again, at that age, it's, man, that peer pressure, man, it's a big one, man, when you're just trying to fit in. It may not be the right decision at the time, but hey, a lot of us were like that. Myself, yourself, everyone. We just didn't know how to navigate that. But I guess the best lessons in life are the mistakes that we make. And,
as long as we learn from them, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And that's how you move forward, because if you're not learning from your mistakes, well, that's where something's wrong. So
That's exactly right. But it's right with what you say. You've got to place yourself with the right people. I mean, what's that? There's a saying of sorts that says we are the sum of the 5 people that we spend the most time with.
Yeah. I like that one. Hey, that's cool.
It's right. I'll write it down for you. I've heard that in so many movies, but it's so true.
Yeah.
Like the more I think about it, it's like it's so right.
Yeah. I like that one. Yeah, it is. Yeah, the more you think about it, it's like, whoa, yeah, hits deep.
Exactly right. But we're almost there. So everything that we sort of discussed in your career and, everything you've done, where do you believe you can make the greatest impact over the next decade?
Knowing that if I can teach one simple skill in a class and that one student gets it, and that just makes me happy, regardless. I mean, there could be a bigger picture ahead more, but yeah, to me, as long as I know that someone's learned something with what I've had to give, yeah, I'm happy. I'm pretty stoked.
That's beautiful. And look, I'm the same, if you can see that one thing in that child that they've got it, it's like, my job is done here.
I understand, man. Yeah. I knew you'd get that, because you're doing that. You're doing that anyway. You're doing with the kids you work with. So
well, I'm trying anyway.
And that's all we can do. And
that's exactly right.
There's no perfect answer to everything. I had a mate of mine. One of the girls from work. She just, man, how do you do it? How do you work with these kids? Well, it's not really. I don't look at it as working with the kids.
No,
you're just there with them.
That's exactly right. And I don't either.
Yeah.
It's the same, because you're trying to, I think, pay it forward.
Yeah. It's a, and it's obviously it's a buzz when you get letters and cards. I mean, I've kept some of them from my students back there in Melbourne, and when I have my moments where I'm struggling through a day or just getting through, because we all have those moments. No one's perfect. I'd open up some of those letters, and man, it just piles me up again. Just. Yeah, it's good.
It's funny you say that, because I'm the same. Some of these kids have written birthday cards and thank you cards and whatever. And even like a friend of mine had an idea of even with friends and things that have happened in your life. Yeah. Have a jar, write it down, put it in the jar. And if you're not feeling it, in a good headspace, open up that jar and open up those little messages, and, it changes your sort of mindset.
Man, it's so cool, and just to sit there and have that moment and read them and remember, you're a big part of their journey. So, it's awesome. You can't, there's nothing that can beat that. So, you just want the best of them, of course. And, the times there where we can't save them all.
No.
But just having someone, just being there, in that moment and that time is more than, what they realize. They're actually quite grateful, because there's no one else there to listen, like you said.
That's so true. And, obviously we've seen it working in corrections, doing what we do. It's just the being there, because if you're taking that time away from your own time, they sit back and go, well, hang on a minute. I mean, look, that said, we used to hear it at work, or you're here because you have to be. Well, I don't.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's true.
I'm here because I want to be. And that's with, all of the work that you and I do. So.
No, it's so true, because I mean, like, I don't know. Look, we're all geniuses in our minds, right? We all have a good intention to help people, and we know, okay, this is what I do. But when you actually put that in action, not many people can deal with it.
No.
It's a totally different thing. So
that's right. Theory is very different to practical.
100%. So I look, and I do take my hat off to anyone in that space, like yourself, and even those that are genuine on trying their best. I take my hat off to them too, because they may not be, it could be a whole new thing to them, and they're still learning, and they're still working alongside someone like yourself and me. So I take my hat off to them too. But as you know, there are just some people that are not suited for that sort of work. So and I hope they realize that sooner than later, because it could cause.
That's a very good point, because you could do more damage if you don't realize it, versus trying to prove a 100%. Point or ego or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, 100%, and
as we've seen. Yeah.
All you can do is just give them a hug and keep them going. But that's up to them, really. But I do hope they make that decision sooner, because I know there'll be a lot of our viewers out there that are probably in that boat right now, and just making sure that you're around the right people. If you are struggling, just try and get out of there and take a break, or change the career, man, because some people are built for it, some aren't.
Agreed, and that's true. It's great to give it a go, and like you said, it's great that people are out there trying.
Yep.
But if you can't do it, it's okay, right? It's not a failure.
Right.
You tried.
That's right.
Look for a different career, and
absolutely
hope that even a little influence that you had may be enough influence. Yeah,
that's right. And I'm sure they will take something from someone, or
even for themselves, that they've walked away and learned something.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. But look, I have, and obviously, even today, there'll always be challenges around the corner. A new day dawns, and we just keep tackling it on. Just keep going.
Yeah. Well, to end the podcast, there's one question I generally ask, and it's, what does the boxer within mean to you?
Staying true to yourself, believing in your strengths, and being able to share what you've experienced, because the only way we can move forward is by learning, and always teaching, and always being open to coaching. I think that's a big one for me. Just believing in yourself, man. You just gotta, dig deep, man. You're more than what you think you are. So
that's beautiful. That's a great way to end it. Thank you so much, Matiu. I know you do have to go, but thank you for your time.
No, you're welcome, Vickie, and it's great to connect with you again. And thank you for all the stuff that you did for me too, my friend. So beautiful.
Right back at you, mate. Thank you. Take care.
All right. Yeah, bye.
Talk soon. Bye.